Not being able to move or stand was a scary thought, but that was my reality for almost a month plus. Brethren, I died. As I thought many things, will I ever walk again? Can God just heal me now? And the angels around would shout it was a prank. I was told on my first day that I would need surgery and would need some plates and screws to be put inside my body to align my bone. I died again. Days leading up to the surgery was full of sleepless nights as I was unable to close my eyes to sleep. The first surgery attempt occurred to fix my leg, and I literally almost lost my life. I felt a spike in my brain and my blood pressure crashed to shock level. The surgery didn't hold that day, and I remember being in the intensive care unit and I was the only one inside. The nurses were quite a distance and most times they were not even there, and because of how sterile the place is, they don't allow people to come in. So that was the first time. I remember when I finally gained consciousness and I sat up and I just broke down in tears. But it was not from the normal tears of, oh, why me? It was, I just kept thanking God. I started thanking God. I started singing songs. My leg was still broken. But I was on the bed. I was thanking God. I was grateful that I was spared. I became more conscious of the warfare that was on ground and how God truly has been in control from the beginning. It was obvious that I had to be on crutches for a while. So they gave me different durations, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, just different things to prepare my mind. So I was certain I was not going back to using that leg for a while. I want to thank God today for life and the ability to be standing here today, literally. I'm grateful for every functioning body part that I have and God's kindness in keeping them over time. On November 17th of last year, I was involved in a car accident with some brethren in church. And in as much as I would have liked to say, as some said, that I came out unscratched, that wasn't my case. And today, I'm thankful for that. Different people have recounted how the accident happened, so I wouldn't want to dwell on that. But I recall when the crash initially occurred, because my eyes were wide open and I saw the entire thing play out. The cars were badly smashed and the doors were crushed closed. I noticed that people were flying out from the window as the bus started smoking up. Immediately the crash happened. Thankfully, there was no fire. I tried to do so, but I realized it was only one leg that was cooperating. At this point, I didn't know what was broken. I didn't even feel any pain. But then on my left was an unconscious person, Brother Sammy, and his body fell on me. So I thought that was the reason why I could not stand up. So like a normal Nigerian movie, I tried to make him stand up, and as he did not stand, I now pushed him. I kindly pushed him. He still wasn't conscious. It was a very scary scene. All I wanted to do was leave the bus because I thought he had packed. So I thought that was the reason why I couldn't. So when I pushed him and I still couldn't stand, it didn't cross my mind to look down. And immediately I looked down on my leg. I saw my left thigh pits. Like, you know how a wood can be broken and the flesh goes in. So when I looked at my eyes, I was like, is this my leg? Like I looked, the car was smoking. I was looking at my leg. I was like, this looks like my leg, but it cannot be my leg. Till I now tried to stand up with force and I screamed. Then I started calling for help. I was screaming for help. I was calling Brother Moses. Brother Moses was focusing on Brother Michael. I was calling different people. Eventually, a group of men, with the help of Brother Moses and Chuka Gesiere, they helped me. They carried me out from the window. They had to break the window to carry me out. It was one of the most painful few seconds of my life. There were a lot of tears, screaming, and many other display of emotions from different people at the scene of the accident. The people that were praising God and crying, the people that were just screaming Brother Michael, and plenty other things. As we were still trying to call for help, but I was silent, completely silent. To some, this was a display of strength, but for me, this kept me from saying words that I would be so sure I would regret if I opened my mouth to speak. All that kept coming to my mind was, how did this happen? Why did this happen? The popular one, why me? But I avoided saying anything. I was actively thinking about how my entire life is about to be halted for how long? In just a few seconds. We were eventually carried by a good Samaritan that was on his way to preach in his church with his family, but had to leave them on the road and take myself, Sister Magdalene, and Sister Jane that I called to comfort me in the car. She ended up screaming more than me, but that's completely fine, as she was some form of comfort. My muteness continued all the way to the first hospital we were taken to. From the view of the hospital, I knew that they couldn't manage my case, so I didn't allow them to touch me. At first, they thought I was just a passerby because I was quiet, I was frowning, I was not saying anything. I was just sitting down in the car. So nobody would know that something actually happened till they started asking why I'm not allowing them to carry me, and I just pointed at my leg. Then they started shouting, femoral fracture, femoral fracture, femoral fracture. So in context, I had a complete fracture of my left femur, which is one of the strongest bones in the body. So the bone completely broke. Thankfully, it didn't stick out of my skin. It was a closed fracture. I begged the man to take us to the University of Udoh Teaching Hospital, as I was certain that was the best option for our cases, and other brethren would be there too. On our way to calm the tears and screams in our car, after I shouted at them to keep quiet, I raised our memory verse, 2 Corinthians 4. As for me, I look to the Lord for help. I wait confidently. And we sang it. I remember the man that was driving us, he was a stranger, but he was just looking at us in awe, like, okay, that's weird. It was later he finally shared with us his thoughts and how he was very happy that we did that, and he was very encouraged. The first miracle was that the ward we were kept in is called the triage ward. That's where they keep emergency cases. So normally it's very full. And as a medical student, I have a fair idea of how busy A&E can be, the accident and emergency ward. Sometimes because of how full it is, they keep patients on the corridors, outside, in strange places just to accommodate. But thankfully that day there was a lot of space and we were taken in. I will spare you the details of how painful the moving from the car to the couch was, to the bed they had laid me on. But just know that my quiet appearance soon was replaced with screams like a woman in labor, because I screamed. Like I said, those were the most painful seasons of my life, and it was just a few seconds, but it was very painful. The journey I had never in my entire life planned for started that day. I'm grateful for the doctors that we had, as Brother Sammy shared, as they were truly the best, both Christian-wise and skill-wise. The doctors came to see us the next day, and even though the nurses were told to keep me in particular in a private ward because I was a student, I was being managed in this school I learned in. I'm glad that they didn't comply and they kept me in the general ward so that I could be with my brethren. The admission. We were eventually admitted into the ward, and I had no idea of how long I was to be there, but I was very certain I wanted to leave as soon as possible. Not being able to move or stand was a scary thought, but that was my reality for almost a month plus. I had started my final year just some months back, so I had to pause on classes, tests, postings. I remember when my mother came to visit me and she was saying, which type of thing did they send for you this period? Like, everybody was shocked at the timing of the accident, but truly that was the best time it could happen because we're not too busy in school. I was confined to a spot and I wasn't able to go anywhere for a long time. Brethren, I died, as I thought many things. Will I ever walk again? Can God just heal me now? And the angels around will shout, it was a prank. I remember at different times, I'll just close my eye and open, like, I'm still here. I'll close it again, open, I'm still here. I'm like, no, I must be dreaming. And it happened for days. I would wake up, I'll just be thinking, oh, can I wake up and say I was dreaming? But none of this was my case. I was told on my first day that I would need surgery and would need some plates and screws to be put inside my body to align my bone. I died again. From where to where, I have witnessed some of these surgeries during my postings as a student, and they were not the best things to watch. Orthopedic surgeries look like they are fixing a car because you're hearing screws, you're hearing hammers, you're hearing pom-pom on people's bones. So in my head, I'm like, so from watching and saying Jesus to now being the patient on the table, it was not a funny thought. The doctors, so immediately they told me that I broke down crying. I had a lot of crying episodes. The doctors really wanted to hasten my case in particular, so they booked for my surgery in the next 4 days, and they truly went above and beyond to get the things ready under such short notice. provision. My family eventually got to hear about it after I kept it away from them for some time, and I realized I did not have money. And funds started coming in. My mom came, different people came in, and I'm grateful to God for that. Already the church was handling most parts of the bills, and my church family, they will have a full segment in this testimony. But the advice is to have a good church, because there's a reason. This church was amazing. In my first week in the hospital, I found it very difficult to talk to God. I had nothing to say. I had read enough stories from scripture to know it was very unwise to be offended with God in cases like this. So this wasn't my case. I wasn't angry with God, but I also did not have enough faith to look at him or to look to him in this season. Plus the fact that I wasn't hearing anything from him. It was one of the most quiet things. No dream, no vision, no nothing of I will comfort you, my daughter. Nothing. So just very quiet. So I felt very lonely in that period. The devil would bring spiritually lonely, not physical. There were a lot of people around. The devil would bring strange thoughts to my mind, like, is this the point God abandons his own? And you were going for evangelism, plenty thoughts like that. But in reality, God truly never abandoned me. Yes, he was silent, but he was actually the closest person around. My first surgery attempt was a full testimony of that. Days leading up to the surgery was full of sleepless nights, as I was unable to close my eyes to sleep. Already prior to that, I used to have some sleeping issues. I struggled to initiate sleep, but when I do, I can't sleep. But in those periods, I would sleep at 2, 3 a.m., wake up an hour later because I was unable to sleep. The environment was new, everything was changed, so I was sleep deprived, I was sad, I was angry, I was crying. Sometimes I'll just be talking to someone, I'll be laughing, then I'll just break down and cry. I'm thankful for the brethren around, as they would understand by not saying things like, what's happening to you now, or what's wrong? They'll just hug me and pray for me. I had serious sleep issues because of how heavy I felt, for lack of a better word. The night before the surgery came, and pastor came to pray for me, I started sensing something would go wrong when he prayed. Father, even if she comes, let it be a visit. Let her come back. Something to this effect. I understood why this prayer was needed, because on the 22nd of November, the first surgery attempt occurred to fix my leg, and I literally almost lost my life. The surgery day. I slept throughout the night for the first time that week and woke up to excited brethren seeing their sister rolled in for surgery. The ecstasy was, her leg will be fixed, she'll be gone in the next few days or so. Just everybody was happy. Me, myself, I was happy but scared. It was my first surgery ever, and it was not a very pleasing experience. So, in summary of what happened on the surgery table, I was rolled in for surgery. The anesthesia team, the team that usually reviews the patients for surgery, came the night before. They reviewed, everything was okay. I went in. So now, before they give you the anesthesia to numb your leg and your body before the surgery, they give you some drugs to prevent any reaction. So they'll give you about 3-4 drugs. They gave me the first one, nothing happened. Second one, I was okay. I was already on the table. Doctors were on scrubs. They were ready to cut me open. But they just wanted to give me the drug so that they could start. The third drug, the doctor on ground had warned me that I would feel a peppery sensation in my genitals for a few seconds once they give me the drug, but that will be it. Then they will go on with the anesthesia, then they will cut me open. Like I said, I was already on bed. They gave me that third drug, and immediately, shortly after, I felt the peppery sensation. But that was not the end. I felt a spike in my brain, and my blood pressure crashed to shock level. Shock level is like 60-something over 40. That's very bad for your blood pressure. So I started reacting on the table, foamy spit started coming out. I can't remember what exactly happened, but I know I was losing it. And the only thing I could hear myself saying, I couldn't even open my eyes. I just kept on saying, I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to go. And that seemed like the best option because of how lifeless I felt. The drug had a very bad effect on me, and I'm thankful to God that the anesthesia doctor that was on ground is a church member. So he was the one that was waking me up and saying, no, Boma, you will not sleep. And I kept saying this to my mouth, I want to sleep. I literally felt like something was dragging me, and I didn't mind. Already, I was not spiritually stable. I had already given context that I was not talking to God that period. I was just mute. So it wasn't like I was prepped spiritually for the surgery, but I'm thankful to God for the brethren that were praying. Because as I was trying to also be going my way, so like something was drawing me back. I'm also thankful to God that they didn't go ahead with the surgery, because some impatients or not so God-fearing doctors would have said, oh, put on that general anesthesia. Now, general anesthesia is that they are shutting you down completely, and they are going to be your source of breathing. They'll shut down your lungs. Everything will stop working, and they will now be the source of your heartbeat, your lung function, your oxygen, everything. That would have been way more deadly, seeing that it was more spiritual than physical. If they had shut me down, I think they would have just dragged me like that, and I may have not woken up. I'm thankful to God that the surgeon, even though he had dressed up, everything was ready. He said they couldn't go ahead with the surgery, so they had to roll me out. The atmosphere was already very dark, and I couldn't see anything. All I kept hearing was, oh, your mother is in distress. I heard everybody was sad. I couldn't say anything, so they had to roll me out and put me in the intensive care unit. Now, already being in ICU shows that your case is critical. It's usually where they keep very critical cases, and thankfully, I was the only one there that particular day. I remember a particular sister came still in my dazed state, so because they had given me drugs to resuscitate me, so I could open my eyes more, but I couldn't see most things. A sister came and asked me, said, "Did you Robert?" She said, "Why are they after you like this?" And true, in that condition, I was like, I really don't know, because I was not thinking. In that my subconscious, I was like, so they left Michael, they left Sister Ibim, they left all these people with mighty calling, Sister Margaret. Me, that I'm not even too sure. Like, why is there so much? Because it was obvious there was a lot of contention, and I wasn't even fighting. I'm just grateful for the house, for the spiritual house I come from, because truly, I would have given up a long time ago. But I'm thankful to God that the surgery didn't hold that day. And I remember being in the intensive care unit, and I was the only one inside. The nurses were quite a distance, and most times they were not even there. And because of how sterile the place is, they don't allow people to come in. So that was the first time. I remember when I finally gained consciousness and I sat up, and I just broke down in tears. But it was not from the normal tears of, oh, why me? It was, I just kept thanking God. I started thanking God. I started singing songs. My leg was still broken, but I was on the bed. I was thanking God. I was grateful that I was spared. I became more conscious of the warfare that was on ground, and how God truly has been in control from the beginning. Because truly, anything could have happened on that surgery table. But I started thanking God. I now finally had a conversation with God. I broke down crying. I remember at some point, as I was thanking God, I now felt a hug around me, and that was the first God's touch I felt that season, and I was so grateful for it. I remember leaving that ICU a new person. I intentionally told them I want to stay longer because my ward was very noisy. There were a lot of people trooping in, so that was the first time I had a quiet time with the Lord. So I stayed there for an extra day. Yes, my leg was still broken, but my soul began being fixed from that day. My second week in the hospital was way more amazing than my first. I hardly had any crying episodes. I was now enjoying the company of brethren. I'm thanking God for my hospital brethren. We became like family, truly. There were a lot of help that period, and I started enjoying it. I was way more joyful in my second week. I remember sometimes during that time, the final year, we were writing their final exam. So sometimes someone would just come and meet me for relief, like to gist away their problems, and then they will go. This is me in the hospital. Or people will come to eat from the corner and leave. Like the corner just became like a mini restaurant, mini therapy session. Like you'll be talking to people, counseling people. It was completely different from the first week. And I'm grateful to God because in that week, I started going through the process with God. My classmates were amazing too. And my blessing didn't fail to give me updates from what was going on in school. Although at that period, I felt I was going to drop out and just open shop or something because I didn't see how I was going to go to school. So then even coming, I was like, this must be nice, but how will I come back to school? So I already started making plans. So if I do apprentice here for 2 years, I can now work in this shop, then open and as we cannot move, what can we do? So things were different, but I'm thankful to God for them because they motivated me to come back. I started interceding more in the night. So times when I couldn't sleep, I started praying more. I intentionally praying for each of my ward mates from a distance. And since I couldn't reach them, as it became clearly obvious that it wasn't just humans around. For context, there are nights where I would wake up in the hospital. This was after and I started allowing God to do what He wanted me to be there to do. And I would see a line physically, a line of dark beings by the door and window, and they were just watching. So there were a lot of demonic activity. I remember one night I woke up to pray for different ward mates, and after I prayed for a particular one, I slept off. And I started hearing my name from the window. Someone was shouting my name angrily. And I was wondering, what's going on here? Next thing, my legs started swelling, became red. I could not sleep for the rest of the night. I remember Sniping was there that night. So it was obvious something was, you could literally feel a hand pressing it. I prayed, I casted, nothing was happening. I started praying, I was like, is it I was not supposed to pray for them? Just plenty things. And how I knew it was spiritual was because once it was now 5 a.m. and the nurses were awake, my leg went back to normal and there was no pain at all. So there were experiences like that there was contention, but you still go back to pray for them, as we couldn't talk to them because of the distance, but prayer was a major thing that we had to do in the word. So I'm grateful to God for that opportunity to learn or be trained in intercession. The day of the second attempt of surgery came, and it was exactly a week later. The day came and it was a successful surgery. I had a dream the night before of the Lord and the surgeon coming to return me to my bed with my leg fixed, and I was very excited. So I was certain waking up that the Lord was truly in control. A brother had wheeled me into the ward, and different brethren were praying. I remember when he was wheeling me, because of the attempt of the first one, I was a bit tense, but he kept asking me, are you afraid? I said, no, I'm okay. He asked me again, are you afraid? I said, I'm fine. As we now reached and they were about to roll me in, I told them to wait. I now had to call him. Promise, come abeg. Just pray for me because I think I'm afraid. Like my temperature started rising. I was tense. I was afraid. So he prayed. The brother prayed. He spoke in tongues. He kabashed. Doctors were there. He did not even care. He prayed. And I was entering the theater with so much more confidence. My surgeon was already playing worship song as they were giving me my medications. The atmosphere was completely different. I received the spinal anesthesia with almost 4 men holding me so that nothing would go wrong. And the surgery took about 3 to 4 hours. I remember at different times I'll pray, I'll look up because they will block your eyes from what's going on. And believe it or not, these people were still trying to gist with me and teach me as I was going through the process. Because they are my lecturers. So they're like, so Boma, if they ask you this question in the exam, you know what? I said, wow, must be nice. Being on the other side. But I could hear the screws, I could hear them driving into my bone. I remember the house officer, the younger doctor on ground sent me the pictures. I was just looking up, like I was way more calm. He played multiple worship songs. I was singing along. I couldn't dance. I was bobbing my head. At some point, Dr. Akwawo, the anesthesia brother that is in our church, was on video call with the brethren because we were calling to check up. So they now came to where they were cutting me. They now said I should say cheese. So I said cheese. I said the cheese just to make them know that I'm okay. So I gave them the quick shout out and the atmosphere was very different. The surgery was over and I was rolled back to the ward with my leg fixed in place. I started physiotherapy some days later. I'm grateful to God for my brother Shalom, as he was used greatly in this ordeal. He would bring the physiotherapists, he would put our name forward so that the process could go way faster. And I'm grateful to God for that. It was obvious that I had to be on crutches for a while. So they gave me different durations, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, just different things to prepare my mind. So I was certain I was not going back to using that leg for a while. I had to be on crutches with my leg hanging. So I would, for those of us that saw me that period, I would jump, move with the crutches, jump, move with the crutches. So I was like a hopping frog. So I and my sister Charity would do practice and walk. Me and my sister Charity went through the surgery and we'll walk around the ward for our physiotherapy. There are times where we'll go to Brasami's ward, we'll play games, and I played a lot of games. We'll laugh, we'll play. So just a very fun time. So we'll walk around, do our morning exercise, evening exercise, and go back to bed. In 7 days, the doctors came and discharged us as we recovered quite quickly. So truly, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, on that date. Okay, I didn't say this part. So when I got into the hospital at first, I think my second day when I was admitted, I heard I would be there for 3 weeks, and I rebuked it because from my calculations, Papa, 10 days, I'm gone. So when the first surgery did not happen, I was so sure that I would be there for 3 weeks. And I got in on Sunday till, just think of 3 Sundays later, on Monday, I was discharged and I was allowed to go with the crutches, of course. Remember, our discharge day was like a party. Our brethren were singing for us as we were coming down and entering the car. They were dancing. We could not dance because we were trying to be very careful. But everybody was happy, and I'm grateful to God for brethren, as they were a major source of help. I mean, we couldn't move for almost a month. So number 1, number 2, number 3, they were helping with all of it. For those that know, you know. So they helped. I said our brethren were beautiful. I remember the first time in A&E when I really felt like I wanted to pee. And I was like, how will I do this? And catheter was not an option. And I remember after I was helped to do it in a very dramatic way, I started crying again. But then over time, they were just amazing. I'm grateful to God for the people that God brought to us. I'm grateful for everybody that came to the hospital because they were loving effortlessly. You know, I saw people in the ward that had attendants that would make it so obvious that they are helping. So when you ask them, oh, can you bring the bucket? They will sigh first, are you? Then bring the bucket. Like this ones, they are standing by the bed with the bucket. Like, do you want to do it? Is there a problem? Do you want to eat? Like, and in that word, we ate. We didn't have appetite, but we were eating. Today, Indomie and suya. Next day, shawarma and pepper soup. Where they were having fun. Because our attendants look fatter than us. I'm not going to call anybody's name in particular, but they know themselves. After the procedure, I had gotten a word before I left the hospital that it would be a season of restoration. One of those times when I was praying. And luckily enough, or ironically, when I was being discharged, I was sent to Tikkun house, which I eventually got to understand means restoration. And God really did a thing there. That was a huge part of my restoration. I used to tell people that a major source of my quick healing was joy, because joy was one of the palpable things I felt in that house. I would laugh till I was tired. I was so happy in that house. Remember a day I woke up from a dream when I prayed about it, that can I suspend, can I drop out? Because everything was still fresh and I didn't think I had the capacity to go back because of how fragile my body was. But Sister Tina woke up from a dream that day where pastor came to talk to me about something. I woke up from a dream where a doctor was telling me to look at a particular sister that had an accident but eventually went back to normal. So plenty things, and I remember Sister Tina encouraged me. I was trying to hide behind the fact that I was afraid for the leg. That's why I didn't want to go back to school. But she painted it clearly that it was just pure shame. Because truly it was shame. Having to go from being someone that asks a patient, oh, how are you doing today? To now being the one they will not ask, are you a patient here? Because of how you're with your iron and everything. So she encouraged me that I should carry my crutches with my full chest. She said a lot of encouraging words. So even when I was going back to school, I was way more confident, in the sense of I would smile more than even you that is walking on your 2 legs. I would ask, how are you? I would joke around. I was just relatively normal. I went back to school and I had to do a lot of stressful postings during that period. I went from different local governments, different hospitals, but thankfully God was always able to keep us, and there was provision to also sponsor my movement. My bone healed relatively fast. Not relatively, it healed abnormally fast. Why? Because of where I'm coming from, I had an idea of the process I was supposed to go through, and my family house people suffered it, because when they say, Boma, can't you walk now? I said, no, there's a process to these things. I have to do 6 months of this, then use 1 month of this. Then so I would explain and explain. Those people, they were radical faith people. So sometimes someone would try to drag you from the bed and say, stand up and walk now. And I never used to comply. I remember when I was reading the Catherine Coleman's book, and there was a full chapter on doctors not believing in healing, and that was a major shift in my head. I got to realize that at some point, after some years in school, I truly did not believe in miraculous healing. And this was me being honest with myself, because as I kept reading, there are different times I would break down and cry as I was reading, because of how I was like, so For example, a doctor that would go for her conference and he would have a metal pacemaker in his house, like a metal implant. And then the woman will prophesy and say, oh, there's a doctor here that has this. He will not come out though, because obviously it can't be him. There's a process to remove this thing. So how do you now want to say the thing will just disappear like that? And then he will go back for an x-ray and realize that the thing actually left. Like there's no metal, there's nothing. And he would still be in disbelief. The doctors would say it's not true, it fell down somewhere, it's somewhere inside. But all of those things were just building up faith inside of me that truly God can heal. And I remember 6 weeks after, I was supposed to have an appointment 6 weeks after I was discharged. The amount of bone that they should have seen around, new bone was forming around the fracture site. They should have seen around 3 months, 2 months, was already being formed then. So my bone started healing very fast. I did not have any pain, no issue. By 3 months, I could literally walk without the crutches. But I remember a dream I had in my first month of the accident, and in the dream I was walking abnormally fast. Then I told them that they should give me my crutches, that this is not medically accurate. So I stalled a good part of my healing. But eventually, in 3-4 months, my leg was fine. I would still carry it to school for protocol's sake so that my doctor will not catch me. But the x-rays kept showing a fast healing bone. I remember at different times, the doctors would say, your bone is healing very fast. Like it became a topic amongst them. That medical student, her bone is healing. Like different ones would just come and meet me, like, are you the one? Are you the one? Your bone, just plenty things. 9 months later, today, or by next week, I've been walking for the past 4 to 5 months and my legs are healed. There's no pain. My soul has been healed and is being healed. And I've witnessed God's goodness, and truly my God has done above and beyond all that I could ask or imagine. November 17th was supposed to be a painful day, but as God usually does, He made everything work together for my good. And I'm walking in the restoration that He promised me, and I'm very grateful to God for that. Praise God.
Thanks for watching. For more stories of God's transforming power as well as all the life-changing content, do check out the links in the description. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, turn on your notification bell, and share. God bless you.